one. And welcome everyone to another episode of the Kasanova podcast. I'm your host, Mekel Kasanova. I have the honor of having the one and only, the history behind the warrior, HBTW. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on here. It's really, really cool. I don't get to do these too often, so it's really, really nice.
Yeah, man, it's such an honor. Like I know we were talking before we went live. Like I said, I've been a fan of your channel for 3 years now. Congratulations on being on YouTube for 3 years, and also you're on the road to 200,000 subscribers, man. Amazing.
Yeah, it's weird. It's really weird. I think I'm like 7,000, 6,000 off now. It's getting a bit crazy ever since I got back to like Mortal Kombat. Like people have been coming back, and I'm like, it's good to come back home.
Yeah. Oh man. So go ahead, like tell people about your channel, where they can find you as well.
Yeah, sure. Basically, for those of you who are kind of unfamiliar with who I am and what I do, like I said, I'm History Behind the Warrior. I'm a fighting game channel that basically talks. I'm like a somewhat fictional documentary channel that talks about characters from different fighting games. I bring up their lore, their history, their backstory, their motivations, what kind of propels them to like that next level of like understanding the narrative of a certain individual. So if you are interested in that, go check me out on YouTube, which is History Behind the Warrior. If you're interested in actually seeing me doing some gameplay, I promise I'll probably like stream sometime soon. It's HB the Warrior, HBT Warrior. You can find me on Twitter with the same account name as well if you are interested in my stuff. But yeah, that pretty much just sums up everything I do. Apparently, I've been doing it for like 3 years. Haven't been doing it well, but I've been doing it consistently at least.
I disagree. You've been doing it fantastically well, man. Like, love your content. Perfect way. Perfect way. If you guys are interested in learning any of the lore of the characters, definitely go and subscribe to his channel. Watch his videos. Links for his channel and his Twitter are in the description below. So definitely go give him a subscribe. And ding the notification bell because YouTube has been playing some games lately. Where
I don't know. Lately,
quite a while. Quite a while now. I've noticed, like within the last year, if I upload a video, a lot of my subscribers aren't getting any type of notification. I think they admitted to that too recently.
Oh yeah, no, it's really bad as well because they basically they said, just because you subscribe to someone doesn't necessarily mean you always want their video to turn up in your sub box. I'm just kind of like, isn't that the whole purpose of subscribing to someone in the first place? That way, you know, you're subscribed and you see this stuff. Like, nah, you got to ring a bell. We got to make it that extra step more difficult. Reasons?
It's like, yeah, it doesn't matter that, you know, you're subscribed to somebody. Make sure you ding the bell, and maybe you might get notified of new video content.
Yeah, it's so backwards. It's so backwards right now.
Oh man, it's truly a struggle. I've had a lot of people message me and tweet to me on Twitter, Facebook, and they're like, how come you're not making any more videos? Like, where's your new content? Like, I've had this happen for the last 4 months, and I'm like, I am. They're like, oh, I haven't gotten anything. I was like, yeah, it's YouTube.
So I wouldn't say it's like super, super bad because Adpocalypse was super, super bad. Yeah. Right now, it's in a state of like where it's just really inconvenient and it's really kind of stupid. I'd say in the nicest way, I'd probably say it's just really stupid and inconvenient.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely, man. I guess I want to go ahead and ask you a couple questions, like I typically do on the Kasanova podcast. I have guests on. I want to ask you, what has been your experience being a content creator on YouTube, barring the whole notification issues we've been having? And what have been some of your ups and downs that you've experienced in your YouTube journey?
Well, as for YouTube as a whole, I'm always going to appreciate the platform for what it did because it basically brought a somewhat childhood dream to come true. So it's definitely done a lot of good there. But in saying that as well, I can't help but feel like the platform from when I started to where it is now has definitely changed a lot. And that's because obviously they're kind of moving to this whole somewhat more adult friendly kind of content, which I do understand. But the problem is that they get very kind of monetization happy with stuff.
Yeah.
And if I make a video after like 11 hours, I want to just throw it out there without another worrying, like no worry in my mind, like, cool, I'm get paid, I made a video, hopefully people will like it and they'll watch it and stuff. But now I have to worry about 12 hours. Oh God, is YouTube gonna demonetize me? Or they're gonna only have certain ads pop up and stuff like that?
Yeah.
It became like another wall of just inconvenience. And on top of that, the adpocalypse, which happened in April last year, was terrible. Absolutely terrible. I remember for 1 month, I got paid about £400 when I should have made £3.5 grand. And that was when I got my hands on Injustice 2 really early at Access event via Ketchup and Mustard. Shout outs to them. And really, like in like 12 hours, my Dark Side Super video got like 150k views, which is unheard of on my channel.
Wow.
And all of that money went down the toilet because of the adpocalypse. All of that money. Like, I basically made no money that month. And I wasn't even able to like pay my rent properly. So I paid for my rent, and the money I had to live off from that month was basically nothing. It was lucky the last 2 months before I actually made a significant pay. So I was luckily prepared for that terrible like month and a half.
Yeah.
But man, it was rough. It was really bad.
Wow.
Like now it's obviously recovered.
Yeah.
But it was really, really substantial. Luckily, I'm in a living situation where I don't have to worry about paying for a lot of money. But £400 is not a lot of money considering half of that actually goes towards my like living establishment. So that's like £200 I have to live off a month, essentially.
Oh, wow, that's insane. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't really make probably anything more than like $10 to $12 a month on YouTube. But I also don't have as big of an audience. Like I only have about 2,300 subscribers. I've only been at YouTube for like a year. And it's kind of interesting. A lot of people tell me that to be in it for a year and to reach 2,000 subscribers, like that's a bit of a milestone. I'm like, really? Because I see other channels that start off and within about a couple months, they've got a couple thousand, like 30, 40 something thousand subscribers. So I'm like, I don't know what the spectrum is, but I just know that definitely with the adpocalypse, like the little I do make, I made nothing for several months, like at all.
God.
Like your content is not viewer friendly. I'm like, all I'm doing is unboxing, reviewing games and tech. Like
it's so bad because the second you get that yellow money symbol, you're just kind of like, well, can't say I didn't try. Yeah.
Very, very true.
One of those things. It's so bad.
Like I understand them flagging some of my stuff now because I've dabbled into another arena. Like I still do Let's Plays and game reviews, like for the fact that I do work with a lot of the gaming companies. And I'm surprised that at 2,000 subscribers I can do that. But you reach out, you always find out something new. But I do dabble in other stuff as like social issues here in America, political issues, just because it's more or less I'm on a journey of finding out like why things are the way they are. So I ask questions and things I'm observing. I have different guests on, and a lot of that content, I guess because it's controversial, some of the stuff that I do talk about, I do get hit with like the yellow monetization. Even if I don't monetize in those videos, I don't. Like none of my Kasanova podcast videos, I don't monetize any of them. If I talk gaming, it's fine. Anything else,
yeah, it's so whack with how it works now. Like at this point, I guess kind of go with how it is. It's like it's the most one-sided argument in the world because it's the equivalent of trying to talk to someone whilst they have their fingers in their ear and they're just saying la 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 la. Just,
right? It's truly amazing, and it's something because there are not a lot of content creators out here in Hawaii. Like there are a lot of people that casually stream. Like I'm from Honolulu, so there's a lot of people that casually stream out here on Twitch and maybe on Mixer. But when it comes to like YouTube, I know off the out of five, I know five YouTube creators out here, and we're all like struggling to get out, you know, beyond 1,000 or 2,000 subscribers, and it's hard. Even though we're the few in Hawaii trying to do something, it's hard to get a following.
Yeah. I think the thing is with YouTube at this point, to capitalize on anything, it's like you need to really strike when the iron's hot.
Yeah.
So I think that is the only reason I managed to kind of get lucky with where I was on YouTube, because when Mortal Kombat X was like building up, it's like I would just so happen to make the right video at the right time, and people managed to find it.
Yeah.
So I got really lucky in that respect.
Definitely. You have to, like, when the iron's hot, you definitely got to strike. And you just have to. The other thing I've noticed is consistency too, and that's something I've noticed. You're really, really good at being consistent with your content. Your content quality is phenomenal.
Thank you.
Just being honest, man.
It's actually. I watched one of my older videos the other day, and I've never cringed so hard in my life. And I've seen how far I've come, and I'm like, you know what? I'm at least glad 3 years down the line, I'm not making my language absolute shit like that. I'm glad that it's frankly improved quite drastically, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm glad I didn't keep it that quality, or I don't know what I'd do with myself. It was really bad.
Oh man, I've noticed a definite improvement in the quality of the content you put out, but I mean, from day one, your quality was good. Your editing, the audio levels, your transition from scenes. I don't know if you have a background in videography or video editing, but from day one, your stuff was good. It was
thank
really
you.
Good. So
literally, what I ended up doing was just kind of like, I have nothing to do in my free time. I've got to teach myself this and just wing it and just see what happens. that was literally it. The only experience I had in from when I started was basically the difference between just the difference between microphones and just like an idea. That is really where it kind of just started. It just started as an idea, and it just kind of sparked from then. Really, it's kind of weird. It's like the way I started up my channel was really, really weird, I'd have to say.
Nick, I'm curious now. Like, I want to know.
All right. I figure I might as well start from the very beginning.
Okay.
I need to go back by 4 years. So it was roughly about the time I started university. Now, when I was at university, I started contemporary sound production. And to be fair, to get in there, I required moderately high grades, which I surprisingly so managed to smash and get in there really, really easy. However, when I got there, oh boy, it was the worst experience of my life. Terrible. I was at a university where basically the only thing I did back then was I drank socially with people. But I'm going to a university with musicians. Everyone is doing the heaviest drugs possible, and if you do not do that, you are not in the circle jerk crew. It was terrible. So I basically I hung out with no one. I had no friend. Never in my life. I wouldn't say I'd say I'm quite a judgmental person when it comes to particular people, but I'm not a hard person to get along with. But literally, for me to go to somewhere where I pretty much hated everyone was terrible. So day in and day out, I'd hate people. And when I started university, I started it on like a really, really bad way because I had to leave my job at the time when I was working in a retail store. I broke up with my girlfriend to go to university, like that was like my first girlfriend as well. So it really sucked I had to do that. So I ended up going there. I lived in a moderately fair enough, like the people I lived with were okay. They did do drugs, unfortunately, in the house, which I didn't appreciate. And something that will, like, is quite funny, to be fair, because I still joke with this housemate, is that I ended up living under a drummer for a year. Do you have any idea how painful it was to be woken up by a kick bass and, like, in the morning at 6?
Oh, God.
6 o'clock in the morning by a drum kit. Can you imagine what that does to someone?
That's gotta be insane.
It was so bad. And when I was there, after being like drained mentally from people, because when I went there, I used to go. I didn't go to the gym, but I worked out on like a weekly basis. When I went there, lost all motivation. I pretty much was clinically depressed. I lost 4.5 stones of muscle whilst I was there. So I wasn't eating right. I wasn't around the right people. Basically, I was in the worst situation I could have ever possibly have been in. And on top of that, like the university which I went to, I'm not going to name names, but this said university said that, we're going to have seminars with really famous people, we're going to have big people in, and they did. But they never, ever sent me an invite. They sent everyone else an email, but I didn't get one. And I was paying $9 grand a year to essentially sit in a room, losing my sanity. It was terrible.
Oh, my God.
It was really, really bad. So basically, around beginning of February that year, I think must have been 2015, because this channel's 3 years old, I basically was like, I'm losing grips of my sanity. Like, never before have I ever felt in a situation where I was actually starting to lose grips of my sanity. And I was just kind of like, I need to do something, man. I'm stuck in this room. I was never in my life had I ever taken time out from studying. But for university, I was just kind of like, I'm taking a week out. Why? Why would I want to be in? I'm not learning anything. I'm around people I don't like.
Yeah.
So I pretty much just sat in a room, and I was like, I was a Mortal Kombat fan before because I played a lot of Mortal Kombat 9. And I was kind of like, oh, there's a new one coming out. Let me take a little bit more of a look of it. It's kind of like, that's really cool, man. Let me take a look at some more Mortal Kombat videos online. I was just kind of like, I really like Scorpion. Let me make a video, look for a video talking about him and his story, because at that time I was invested in like the series. And I was wondering, it's like, oh, what's going on with this character? Typed in history of Scorpion or Scorpion origins, didn't find one video. Didn't find one. And I was just kind of like, I can't be the only person looking for this video in the world. So that's when I looked it up originally on the wiki, and I was just kind of like, this is really cool, man. Why is no one talking about this? Why is no one at all discussing or making topics on this video? Because I can't be the only person in the world who's actually looking for this stuff. So it just kind of dawned on me, and I was just kind of like, you know what? I'm gonna try my hand at this, and I'm gonna see what happens here, because I've always been kind of a fighting game connoisseur in that sense. So I picked it up, and I started reading it. I wrote out like a 3 or 4 page script for my first video, and it like my first video, it's terrible now compared to stuff I do, but I'm kind of proud in it in the sense that I wrote out a script. The video did very well, as it's got like 2 million views at this point. It's crazy. But I basically put time into that, and I was just kind of like, and people started watching it, and people said like, yeah, this is good stuff, like do more. And I'm like, all right, I'll do more. And then I slowly started to drift all the way from like this negative place of university and drift over to this other place of like where I was making videos, making content, Like the people who like gave me praise through my comments meant so much to me at that time because of the situation I was living in. And that praise it kept me going. And then by the end, I did it for a few months, and then I hit like 10K subscribers, and I was kind of like, you know what? I should actually start investing more time and put some money into this, see what I can actually do with it. And then I decided to actually put more time and money into it. I started buying better equipment, wanted to branch out more. And it got to the point, by the time I started my second year of university, I was just kind of like, I don't need this. I'm already 9 grand in debt. Why would I want to be 18 grand in debt? I don't want to be here. So I ended up leaving my university. And the funny thing is that the lecturer who I was talking to, who was also a producer, I was talking to him about it, and he was looking at it, I was like, you really have something here, don't you? And it's just kind of like, yeah, I didn't quite expect that response from him. And he just kind of like said, go for it. If what you say is like how it is for you, go for this, because you might have struck gold here for yourself. Go for it. Do what you need to do. So I ended up literally just taking his words to heart, and I left. And that was easily the best decision of my life, because if I didn't pursue this career, I would basically to travel to my university. My first year I lived with people. Second year I lived at my own home. It was 2 hours and a bit to travel to my university on train, and then it was London transport as well, and then back. My earliest lecture one day was at 8 o'clock. I had to get up 5 o'clock, take a train, get there, and then I finished at 6 o'clock on that day. Got home at 8 o'clock in the evening, and they expected me to do their work for a lecture. I'm like, yeah, sure, when I can get the time to do it, why not? Why not? So that used to be my life at university, and the money I actually made off YouTube paid for my train fees to, in fact, travel all the way out. So that's a little fun fact. So after doing that for a few months, I just left it, and then I just started pursuing YouTube properly, and I guess that's been the journey ever since then. It's a really crazy story, to be fair, because I started off in like the worst place possible and ended up in such a better place, such a better place.
I'm sad to hear that you had to go through that, but I like the context of your situation, because there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Like, you went through the difficulties and the hardship, and by going through that, you found a passion, you found something that's lucrative in a career, and it's been really good for you, man. I'm happy for you. I'm really happy for you.
Thank you very much. It's definitely, like, I think people forget how like fucked up, like, in the state of like how my channel actually started. It's like really messed up. But would I go through all again to get to where I am? Probably yes, but that would have been a long like wait, because goddamn was that terrible. It was terrible, because I remember real story actually. I was the only one that drank after a year there, like 2 months before I started my channel. I basically stopped drinking at that point, because the only thing I did for those few months at university after getting like so clinically depressed was I just used to drink. I even started smoking at that point. And then it just got to me, like, one day I was just kind of like, why am I doing this? Why am I somewhere where I'm not happy? I needed like change this shit. And that I guess that's what led to where I am now, which I'm very, very proud to say I got here. Very, very proud.
And and you talking about your situation, I went through some very similar things at the college I went to out here in Honolulu. I don't mind saying the name because I hate this college with a passion. Chaminade University, screw you. God, I put up with 4.5 years of that school. I was ostracized, bullied, beat up by the jocks. One of
Oh
them,
God.
actually, yeah, one of them that I was roommates with, he was such a bully, man. He used to beat me up all the time because at the time when I started college, I was about 16. I went to college early. And
Mm.
so I was short at the time. I was like 5'7", 5'8" before I hit my growth spurt. And I was stuck with the basketball players. They were real, real big assholes, just jerks.
Mm.
Except for one. One was a gamer, but because he had a reputation and because I was the dorky kid they didn't like at the time,
Had to
he
keep it
would,
up, didn't they?
yeah, he had to keep that persona up. And then, the one real asshole I was stuck with, that was a roommate. He used to just beat me up all the time, steal my money, steal my games. And one time he beat me up so bad, I think he had been drinking. He ended up breaking my leg, so I had to go to the
Oh
ER.
God,
The
it's terrible.
press.
I'm sorry
It
to
was,
hear.
yeah, it was horrible. And when I would report this stuff to the school, they wouldn't do anything. And like as I'm listening to like your story, I'm like, I wish I had the courage to just walk away instead of just putting up with 4 years of abuse at that college. That's the worst experience of my life. Is going, well, not the worst
Mm.
experience, but one of the worst experiences I've ever been through, going to that college. And I don't, unlike a lot of people, I don't really have fond memories of college. It's
Mm.
just, it was constant, like being picked on, being ostracized. Like, I'm part Samoan, part Hawaiian as well. And, I never fit in with those groups because I'm not really brought up in the culture, so to
Hmm.
speak. I'm a
Yeah, I can understand that.
yeah, no, I'm a military brat. I've been all over the place, and so it's just interesting, when coming here and not fitting into any. There's no social circle I fit into, so it was just 4.5 years of hell. So
Yeah, I can only imagine. That's
I
rough.
wish, yeah, I really
It's really
wish that
rough.
I had the courage that you had to just step away and just do my own thing. I commend you for that, man. I
No,
really.
thank you. Be fair, the only reason I stepped away is because I knew at that point, like, what I had. And
Mhm.
I wouldn't have left university for any other reason if that was the case. But, like, that's why I always appreciate what I do, because I know for a fact I got really lucky with what I got. Really, really lucky. So that's
Mhm.
why I never take what I do for granted in that sense either.
Definitely, man. Your work's inspiring, man. I
Oh, thank
really,
you.
actually, one of the people in the chat, he does very similar things to you. With he does it with Virtua Fighter. His name is Also Jiggly. He's actually Segalicious of the channel Also Jiggly. He's run by him and his brother, and
Okay,
they do a lot of Virtua Fighter um, lore, which a lot of people I've
that's
also
cool.
found, aside from you and him, a lot of people don't talk about the lore of Virtua Fighter at all.
Yeah, I think that's also because Virtual Fighter. The reason why I haven't covered like Virtual Fighter, Guilty Gear, or like the other games like that is because it's not. It's because that they're not so much in like the limelight. Because
Yeah,
for the most part, my channel, like when I talk and communicate to people, a lot of people want to see like more popularist stuff is,
yeah,
and I tend to. I wouldn't say I cater for those, but I know I appeal to that kind of demographic, so I'm happy to talk about that. But when I'm in a place where the money kind of has to become a thing, I
yeah,
have to kind of like I need to strike quite big at times
yeah.
because I ended up doing not Street Fighter, Soul Calibur earlier this year for like 2 months.
Yeah.
I'm very happy with how those videos turned out, but the game doesn't have a lot of hype behind it. And
Mm.
I saw it in my money, and I was kind of like, I need to go back to Mortal Kombat because it's one of those things. Like, as much as I'd love to cover those particular games,
Hmm.
sometimes if the money's just not there and it's taking a toll on me, I can't keep talking about it because I know that I'm gonna suffer for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is the case. But if I had it my way, I'd talk about a lot more stuff. Trust me.
No, I mean it makes sense. This is your career, and you have to strike while the iron's hot, and you have to communicate with your audience. Like, what do you guys want to see? And you've
Mhm.
got such a massive audience, man. Like, I understand. I understand.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, unfortunately that is somewhat the nature of the beast with YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you don't do well, you can very, very quickly slip into obscurity, which
Yeah.
is really sad in that aspect because when I started making videos, I followed quite a few YouTubers. I'm not going to name these said individuals, but I was
Mm-hmm.
watching them on the side whilst I was making my stuff, just as casual content to watch when I finished up a video and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed like two or three or four of those content creators that I was talking about have I've basically surpassed them.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I ended up surpassing them is because they they basically stayed where they were with making like Black Ops, Call of Duty Black Ops videos, and just particular ones, and it kind of became like a safety blanket for them, I guess, because that's where their views really came from,
Mm-hmm.
instead of trying to branch out and progress. And when I've looked at those channels now, like they're only bringing in about 1.5K. When originally when I started watching them, they were bringing in 100 and stuff like that. It was crazy. But
Oh
it's
wow.
really weird. It's really, really weird because I still watch those channels now,
Yeah.
and it's just weird. I can't describe it anything else. It's so odd.
It makes sense. Like I know, like when I started getting the surge of growth on my channel last year, like towards the beginning of last year, I was probably at like 50 something subscribers in January, and then once the Switch rumors started coming out, and I said, "Oh, I'll do a giveaway of a Switch the day of release," which, funny enough, the day the Switch release was actually my wedding.
Oh,
Um, so I didn't take that into account. And so prior to switching over to doing gaming and streams and whatnot, I was doing a lot of tech reviews and trying to do like the cell phone stuff. And I just started to realize I'm like, this is too oversaturated because it's gotten to a point where it's like everyone's trying to be the next Marquez Brownlee or the next your average consumer. And I saw so many people basically copying and pasting the same style. And I'm like, there's too many people here. I want to try something different. So I went, I follow a lot of Nintendo channels, or at least I did. And I'm like, okay, so these people are coming out just not bashing, but they're just throwing so much news content, like 6 to 7 videos within a day, if not
mm-hmm.
13 videos in a day. And I'm like, how about I do something different? I'll just shift, how I'm doing it to not really come off like I'm biting their style, but just do very differently. And, from when the Switch came out, I think up until like December last year, I just saw a surge. I was getting 10, I went from 10 subscribers a day up to a couple hundred a day to like a couple hundred a
That's
day.
pretty cool, man.
And it got to where it is now, where I guess because a lot of people rode that, going back to, like you said, striking when the iron's hot. I think a lot of people rode the Switch success, and some did better than others. But it's gotten to a point where almost everybody's talking about the Switch, and everyone at this point is also talking about Smash. It's like you can't look up Nintendo without finding 50 million different, I wonder who's going to be in this version of Smash topic videos. So again, now it's another field that's oversaturated, which is kind of what led into me doing like the podcast series where, I'm like, okay, who's doing a podcast that's, going from gaming to tech to social issues to, national issues to who's doing kind of like an amalgamation of that. So I was like, oh, I don't see anyone doing that. And it's amazing as I've started doing it on YouTube and I have it on iTunes and Google Play Music and others. I'm shocked that I'm getting millions of listens and downloads on iTunes and Google Play. I just wish that this would transition over to my YouTube channel. But the podcast,
I can understand that.
Yeah, like the podcast industry is interesting. How there are a lot of people that are really interested in listening to podcasts, but it's like, I guess videos, because you have to sit and watch it unless they're short. It's hard to, I guess, maintain the attention span. So I don't know.
I can understand that. I even take that into account in some of my videos sometimes. That's why there's sometimes there's gameplay instead of images, and I keep
Mhm.
that for the most part to keep people intertwined. But I know a lot of people like to just throw in a video and get on with whatever they're doing whilst they're listening to that as well. So I completely understand where you're coming from in that respect.
So I mean, with that being said, man, what got you into gaming? Like what?
I don't know. I think it was always the appeal. It's quite a funny story in that in itself as well. My father absolutely hated video games,
Really?
despised it with a burning passion. Like he didn't like the idea of me gaming in the first place. It was it was more so a hobby thing that I was really like interested in, and the fact
Mhm.
that he didn't like it and found it so taboo kind of propelled me even more into liking it. It was one
Mhm.
of those things. The problem was is that at a very young age as well, and the reason that kind of plays into it is
Mhm.
that my father always tried to kind of mold me into what he wanted. He never gave me the free will to kind of choose what I wanted to listen to, what I wanted to play, essentially. Like a lot of my martial arts background comes from ones that he actually picked up until I picked one that I liked, which I stuck with.
Mhm.
Um, Even instruments for like I always wanted to play guitar, but it would always take like you always say that oh it was me that got me into it, and he's completely wrong. Um, Basically, the more taboo he made that situation because he knew I wanted one, encouraged me more to want to pursue it. So by the eight, he basically said to me at one point, like, you can't have a video game console whilst you're in school. I was like, all right, cool. I think, but the second I left secondary school and I got to college, bought one. I bought an Xbox 360. I have it in my room. No, actually, I don't. I got Red Ring like 3 times. But I got it. I had it, and he noticed it one day, and he seemed fine with it. And I'm like, really? And then at some point, he basically just said, "I hate you having that. It's going to be like the filter of your grades, blah blah blah." I absolutely smashed college. I got really high grades. In secondary school, I actually didn't. So clearly,
Mhm.
having that in my life led to me actually getting better grades as well, which is a very bitter pill for him to swallow even till this day.
Mhm.
So I think it was one of those lines where the more taboo he made it, the more interested in it I became. Because every time I'd go over to my friends' houses, I'd end up playing. I didn't even care what I ended up playing. I just wanted to play on a goddamn console, which I ended up. Like, I remember like my introduction to the FPS genre was the first ever Halo. That was the
Mhm.
first ever one I played on the original Xbox. That was a really long time ago, but I found it so enticing. Like it was like I was getting sucked into another world, and it was really amazing. I remember falling asleep at 1 o'clock in the morning with my friend when we were like 8 years old, like, not even eight, it must be six or something, maybe even less. And then waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning to
Mhm.
jump straight back on it for the next few hours, and then we pass like the next few levels, and then just kind of like, oh, I have to go home now. Gonna come around next weekend. So it was one of those things, and it was really really cool. It was one of those things that just appealed to me, and around I guess around this time as well, I must have been really enticed by like martial arts. And I
Mhm.
remember when I went on like a holiday, well, I say holiday, when I went to go visit out some family in Thailand, and then one night I picked up, and the first ever fighting game I picked up was Tekken 4.
Mhm.
And I was like, holy crap, this is so cool. Like, to be fair, it's Tekken. It's like, what other game can you have a crazy ninja fight a guy in a jaguar mask? Like it was absolutely insane, and I loved it for that reason. So I ended up picking it up, and I had so much fun playing it. And I was just kind of like, I really like this genre. This might actually appeal to me more than the fighting game genre, not fighting game, a shooter genre. So I always had my eye on it. And then one day I ended up picking up Mortal Kombat, and I was like, this game is literally the craziest shit. A blend of Western and Eastern culture with the most absurd ways to finish people what isn't there to love at that point? And I guess I must have been like a young teenager. So I was like, yeah, look at me being edgy and cool, playing this game where there's blood and violence. And I ended up picking it up and I really, really enjoyed it. And then after that, when I was still in secondary school, I picked up Mortal Kombat 9 because there was so much hype around that game.
Yeah.
And like, that was the first console. Yeah, that was the first game I actually purchased with my own money. Picked it up, played it, instantly fell in love with it, was absolute dog shit at it. I was terrible. I used to pull off strings into special moves. I was like, look at how cool I am. Yeah, I know what I'm doing, friends. So that ended up happening, and then I played it, and I really enjoyed it. Obviously, there was Injustice 2 later down the line, but that didn't quite appeal to me at that particular time. When I went into college, when I picked up my console, I just started playing games casually. I guess at 16, I started to put my foot in the water and just explore different genres, different games, get an understanding of what I actually liked. And around the end half of it, like, the thing is, I played every year, like, I basically played every genre just to give it a try. Some stuck with me, some didn't. But one that I always did enjoy was the fighting game genre. So that way, when I played like Tekken 6 against my friends or Mortal Kombat, I'd obliterate them. And I'd only played it casually at that point. And I'm just kind of like, all right, I really like this. I want to play some more of it. I'm terrible, but I'm thoroughly enjoying myself. And that's where it got up to university, where we are now with Mortal Kombat. I saw that and I was like, that's so cool. And then I made videos about it. And then I actually bought an Xbox One, and I bought my first ever Mortal Kombat. I bought my first ever Xbox One game, which was Mortal Kombat X. Plugged it in and it was amazing. It was amazing. I remember my first few experiences with it. And around this time as well, I was like, oh, that's so cool. Let me explore into it. And I remember the first ever competitive match I ever watched was Fatal 8, P&D Ketchup versus CR, well, at the time, CR Sonic Fox. I watched it and I was like, oh, this guy's a British guy. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that we had a British scene going on here. And I watched it. And, like, be fair, Ketchup played he played well, but, I mean, it's Sonic Fox. The guy's like a computer. He's 50 steps ahead of you. He's like a damn Terminator watching him play. And he did lose, but I was like, this is really, really cool. And that was the first ever competitive match that really turned up. And then after that, the videos turned up on my recommended feed as I was making videos at the time. And I was just kind of like, huh, all right, this is really cool. I ended up watching it, and I was kind of like, holy shit, there's more than 3 strings into a special move. I can yeah, I'm learning this. So I ended up doing that. And ever since then, like, my understanding of fighting games has grown exponentially. Like, after playing Mortal Kombat, watching their videos, and then seeing some other stuff on the side, like, I started to see, oh my god, there's way more to this than I actually originally thought there were. Like, there's combo strings. Like, I even started watching some Street Fighter stuff. I was terrible at it. I was like, FADCs, Ultras, X-rays, all these other new aspects I hadn't really picked up on before. It kind of grew from there. And from actually watching their videos, like, I say that a lot of my gameplay and stuff goes completely to Ketchup and Mustard. Like, their stuff is really, really good. Check them out on YouTube, by the way, anyone who's watching. But basically, that's where it kind of started, which is really where it gets kind of surreal, because I got to meet them for the first time last year, and they invited me to that Injustice event, actually, that I talked to you about. They invited me there, and meeting them was literally the coolest thing that ever had happened, because I basically looked up to these guys to, like, start my I wouldn't say somewhat start my gaming career, but somewhat start my competitive career. And ever since then, me and the Condiment Brothers, as we call them, we've been really, really good friends. So it's so surreal. It's really, really surreal, but it's so cool at the same time.
Oh man, that's awesome. That's awesome.
it's really weird because I remember I don't actually I'll say something quite personal, but I don't talk to my father anymore. But it's always a bitter pill for him to swallow. But I ended up gaining success in video games when he wanted me to do it in music. And on top of that, I think at one point he tried to take what was it? He tried to say that the only reason I'm at where I am now is because of him, and I'm like, no, you weren't. No, you weren't. It makes me laugh now because it's so absurd in itself, and I just go like, that is the best thing ever. It's just so funny. Yeah. So I didn't want to bring it in on the personal note, but I thought I should add that because it's so funny, and it just kind of goes to show that if you really enjoy something and you really want to pursue it, go for it. You know, exactly. just find your right timing. Sometimes original concepts are the best ones to come up with, and literally, I wouldn't say just wing it, but do what you can and understand what you're doing, because like it can actually work out surprisingly really well for you 3 years down the line. Yeah. It's a crazy one. I feel like I've gotten lucky on so many occasions, and one day it's just gonna all go downhill.
No, man, you've done so phenomenally well, man. I just gotta say this, man. I'm proud of you. Your story
Thank
is
you very much.
And I think you speak to a lot of us out here that have parents that may not like the career that we've gone into, but we have a passion for it and love for it, and have become very successful in it. And you're definitely the success story for that. So
yeah, I got so lucky. I got so lucky when I think about it. Like, I didn't think I was, that I started saying it now, and I'm like, wow, how did I do this? I got so lucky. I never take what I do for granted, because like, man, it was so, like, the trials and tribulations and stuff I needed to go through to get here have been some of the most mind-numbing stuff, but to see how it is at the end of the day, it's well worth it. Definitely. Well worth it.
Again, man, proud of you, man. That's an inspirational story and just being able to, like, again, man, having you on this podcast is such an honor. Thank you.
No, thank you. Honestly, it's like it's one of those things where it's kind of weird, but it's always an honor in that respect as well, because like, when I don't get asked to be interviewed a lot, and when I do, it feels amazing, because I'm not a very hard person to reach out to. But the thing is, with what I do, I've never tried to be a different person from when I've started. So that's why I always, regardless of who you are as an individual, like, I always will be happy to work with people. It's just how I am as a person, you know?
Yeah. And I appreciate that, man, because I know I've reached out to like a lot of people that I enjoy their content. I follow them, or ones that I see that are making content that I'm really interested in. And the fact that I reached out to you and you almost immediately replied, like, that's really rare. I found a lot of people, and maybe it's because a lot of people get a lot of spam comments and tweets and messages, but as to why, like, a lot of people just don't reply. Like, there's some that I've noticed that, and I've gotten word, like, for a lot of YouTubers that I would like to collab with and have on my show and do this interview process. A lot of them have told me that, and like, until you reach like 5,000 or 6,000 subscribers, I'm not gonna hop on your channel. But I've had like you and another YouTuber, Amazing Lucas, and even tomorrow morning, I'm gonna have one of the biggest political commentary on politics here in the U.S. Like, this YouTuber, he's growing rapidly. He's about to hit 100,000 subscribers. And like, as I've reached out to you guys, it's almost instantaneous. Like, yeah, why not? I don't mind. But I have definitely run into that roadblock with a lot of people that I think, hey, it'd be cool to talk to you, but it's like, no, until you've reached this plateau.
Yeah, I can say that. Yeah. The thing is that I can understand where a lot of people are coming from in that respect, because that depending on like where you are, like you must have quite a few people approaching you. But luckily, I'm not in that state because I don't really tweet a lot. I don't really do a lot of stuff via social media. For the most part, everything that I do need to say, I say on like YouTube.
Yeah.
Because I have a feeling if I wanted to say everything that I personally felt on Twitter, I would probably upset a lot of people. So it's probably good that I don't go on Twitter too much.
Oh man, yeah. Twitter is kind of it's a double-edged sword, because there's some things like that tweet, that hashtag I was telling you about before we went live. I've gotten some interesting DM messages about that. I was like, well, it's not untrue. Like, if you're about gaming, then be about gaming. I don't need to see selfies where you got boobs hanging out.
It's again, like I said to you, it's one of those things where it probably most likely started out really, really innocent, and then just people have taken it so out of context. It's like it's probably how a lot of these challenges start off. They probably start off as a meme up until someone actually ends up doing it, and you're like, wow. So people are taking it. I'm guessing like the Tide Pod challenge was probably something someone said to another as a joke, and the people were like, let me do it. Let's see what happens. 5 hours later, they're in the hospital getting their stomach pumped, and I'm just the one laughing at them. I'm like,
like, say? It's like, why did you think that was a good idea?
God, it's literally the worst idea. Like, it eats away at your stomach. Like, the fact to eat away at your stomach acids, like, should be enough an incentive reason for like you to not do that, but people do it anyway. And I know I'm gonna sound like super harsh, but regardless of whatever happens to that individual, I have no sympathy for you once you put that thing in your mouth. Because whatever happens to you is on you at that point. I have like no sympathy at all.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It's like, if you know it's gonna hurt yourself, why? Like,
yeah, it's literally the worst possible thing you can do.
Oh man, yeah, it's I like to say this and I get flack for it, but I like to tell people, I'm like, common sense is not very common.
Yeah, no, it's not anymore. It's not at all. It's terrible. It's just the worst. I'd rather, like, I'm not the smartest individual in the world, but I would easily take my common sense and street smarts over some high-level intellect any day of the week. Any day. Because, I mean, the Tide Pod challenges, now you got people pulling condoms out of their mouths through their noses. And I'm like, I'm good. I'm good.
Where I don't even know where this is coming. Like, who? This is like the second challenge with a condom they've done. I think the first one where they were filling it with water and dropping it over their head.
Oh my god, I've repressed that one. I've repressed that one. Oh my god. How? You know, at some point, if aliens come down, they're gonna think we're like the most degenerate race ever. Just kind of like, so what did your race do? Oh, we pull out condoms through our mouths, through our noses. What else do you do? Well, we have something called the Tide Pod Challenge. What does that do? We destroy our stomachs for the lols. And they think we're suicidal at that point. They genuinely think we're like some kind of goat race that they can sacrifice. I swear to God, it's so bad. It's so bad.
They're literally going to come down and be like, yeah, we can skip this planet. There's nothing here.
It's like a level of disappointment that you wouldn't think can be achieved, but it is. Oh, man.
I have a nephew. I have a nephew who's about 18 who did the condom challenge, and he He sent me a video message of him doing it. And he's like, "Isn't it cool, Uncle?" I'm like, "I don't know you." And I work in healthcare. I'm like,
oh my God, oh wow. That is, oh my God. I don't even know what to say on top of that. I think he's going to get like a judgmental stare at the entirety of Thanksgiving.
I know, like I don't care, like what it doesn't matter what he does in life. I'm gonna be like, you put a condom through your nose and pull it out of your mouth. It's like, Uncle, I got into. You can be like, oh, I got into an Ivy League college. I don't care. You pull the condom through your nose.
What you do? Get that video, save it, wait till his wedding day, stick it in his wedding day video, man. Yep. Never let it go.
Be like, I make a toast to the kid that is getting married today who used to put condoms through his nose. Oh God.
That would be the best thing.
Oh Lord.
Oh my God.
Oh man. I gotta ask you, what is your take on the current state of fighting games and gaming in general in comparison to like previous generations?
That's a quite heavy-handed question. I think gaming now has reached a level bigger than any it's ever really been, for the sole fact that it is now in the public eye. Regardless of whatever type of game, whatever kind of genre it is, like it is a massive industry. I'm pretty sure last year the gaming industry actually made more money than the film industry, because it is so absurdly large. Unfortunately, I do feel like it's made so much money because of loot boxes, which is a topic. It's one of those things. I'm just kind of like so stupid. But
I mean, we can go over it if you want.
I mean, it's the most stupid thing possible. Like, I mean, even if it's cosmetic at this point, I avoid that thing like a plague. It's one of those things that it shouldn't be there. Why is it there? It's a gimmick, and people really need to like just stop investing in that whole kind of thing. I think if Warner Brothers and EA last year has taught us anything, is that they definitely are really, really interested in not making more bang for their buck, but putting a bit more money in their pocket.
Yeah.
It's so stupid at this point. And what doesn't help is the people who actually buy it. And I can understand that respect. Like, oh, I don't have as much hours in the day to play as other people. It's like, sure, fine then. Take your time with that game instead of having to catch up with your friends. Don't buy a full-priced game to only pay as much money as another full-priced game through microtransactions. Like, that's why I was so against like easy fatalities in MKX, because I'm just kind of like, why is this here? It's a 4 or 5 button input. Do I look like I am handicapped? Like, are you treating me like I'm stupid? Like, it's gotten to a place now where it's gotten really out of hand. Yeah. And I'm quite glad that people brought back for Battlefront 2. It wasn't a game I was going to support anyway, for the sole fact that I knew what was going to happen to it in the first place. But I'm glad people are being very vocal about it and have basically kind of pushed back against the whole microtransaction thing. But to go back on your topic of the whole mainstream gaming thing, gaming has become a lot more mainstream now. Industry is absolutely huge. And I think that people are finally understanding the money that's in esports. And esports is becoming a massive, massive thing now. I appreciate like the stuff that they're doing. And be fair, the one thing I love about how big this community, like gaming, has become in general, is the fact that gaming companies are realizing this, and they're actually reaching out to influencers and people, and they're bringing them in. It's like it's a way of promote. Not only does it help promote that channel with a particular game because it's not out yet, but it's a great way. It's like it's great publicity. You know, both sides end up winning, and it's really, really damn good. That's why I hold Bandai Namco at such a high level compared to a lot of other gaming companies, because on multiple occasions I've gone in to play Tekken, Soul Calibur, Dragon Ball Fighters, and the only thing they ever say to me is to cut out particular parts of my video, and they're just kind of like, go have fun, enjoy yourself, you know? And that's the one massive thing that I've always loved about how big gaming has become, is how like the community, like how there is genuinely a very, very nice community of people at times. I say at times. And how, like, you know, the people who work at some of these companies, they don't treat you as some kind of cash cow. Like, they're just kind of like, here, you've earned this position to be where you are now. Go ahead and show off to the world, you know, what you have earned in that respect. And
yeah,
you know, that's why I've always highly praised Bandai Namco, because genuinely I'm friends with people there now after going there so many times and work and like promoting their stuff. I always will talk at Bandai Namco with positive respect, because they've been such a good company to me.
Definitely. Man, that's and you know, that's one of the things that I love about this YouTube journey, especially in the gaming sector, when you get to work with companies such as Bandai Namco and, you know, Capcom to an extent. I've worked with them. You know, NetherRealm Studios and Warner Bros. And stuff. When you get to work with the companies when the game is being made, and you get to give them their critique it and give them some feedback, and it's just such. You know, it goes back to something you were saying earlier in the podcast, where, you know, it was kind of like a dream when you're a kid to be able to do this. And now as an adult, like, you found an avenue where you're able to do that. Like, even now, like, I went from reviewing indie games to, you know, Horizon Zero Dawn, Breath of the Wild, Neo, Nier Automata. What's the most recent one I did this year, I believe, was Dragon Ball Fighter Z, Monster Hunter World, Yakuza 6, and right now I got in today like a copy of God of War, the new one. So it's like, you know, for me to be able to do that, I'm like, I remember as a kid reading game magazines, like, I would love to do this, and I remember people telling me like, there's no way you can do it, and I'm like, the same people now, I'm like, hey, guess what I'm doing for a hobby that's really fun.
It's one of those things where, like, you don't forget those things, because you're just kind of like, all right, we'll see where I am at the end of the day. And it makes it all that much more sweet when you actually do achieve it, and you're like, told you so.
Right?
It's a great feeling. It is really. I don't want to be that guy who says, oh, I told you so, but you know, you can't deny what's on the paper, you know?
Yeah, definitely, man. Speaking of, you know, the fighting games that you got to work with, the companies that you got to work with, the fighting games and whatnot, what fighting game system do you prefer or find to be the most fun and fluid?
Oh, that's really, really good. I've always been a massive advocate for NetherRealm Studios games. Been massive fan of Mortal Kombat for a very long amount of time. I've worked with Warner Brothers. I say worked with Warner Brothers. Ketchup Mustard worked with Warner Brothers, and they invited me, and I kind of became. I'm still not too known in the UK scene for actually who I am, because I'm not one of those people that likes to brag. But like, that was a really, really good opportunity. Hopefully I can do some small stuff when MK11 drops. But it's really crazy. It's really, really crazy. It never stops being crazy. As for another fighting game system, I really, really do enjoy. I've been playing a lot of Arc System game stuff. They've always appealed to me, but the difficulty curve in BlazBlue and Guilty Gear is ridiculous. So I've never been good at them, which is why I was super, super happy for Dragon Ball FighterZ that they kind of dialed it back a bit. And basically in Dragon Ball FighterZ, when I picked it up, I struggled for a little bit. But now after playing it for like months on end, like I'm a bit of a humble brag. I'm kind of a monster at it.
Hey, man, speak the truth.
I ended up playing it. I ended up picking it up, and like I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I'm glad that with those games they well, I say with those games, with this game they've dialed it back from the other games because they've broken it down in such a simple formula that everyone can kind of play it and I guess be moderately good at it. It's just when you start breaking that difficulty curve from casual to understanding competitively and just kind of tweaking it up your stuff that it gets a lot better. Another fighting game system that I do really enjoy is Soul Calibur, because I got to play the new Soul Calibur game, which I was very fortunate to do so, courtesy of Bandai Namco. Thanks again. I got to play Soul Calibur 6, and honestly, it is amazing. Really good. Like, it is the smoothest the series has ever been. Movement feels fluid. Nothing feels blocky. It's one of the, I'd say it's, if you want to like restart your franchise, this is the perfect game to do it with, because there's enough depth in there that it's the same thing with Dragon Ball FighterZ. There's enough depth in there that it can be played competitive, but it's also a very simple game to pick up and play with friends casually. That's the one thing I really do enjoy with it.
Okay.
The mechanics in it are really fun. Some of the stuff does feel a little bit gimmicky at first because it's quite difficult to work around, but once you know how to work around it, you'll pretty much be solid for the rest of the game. Again, another Bandai Namco game is Tekken 7. I enjoy Tekken 7. It's a shame that the game has really been getting a lot of flack for some time now, and I'm not saying it's necessarily Bandai Namco's fault, as it is the Tekken 7 devs team, but the DLC for that game, like season pass wise, has kind of been underwhelming. But I think a lot of people are complaining about it and forgetting what they actually saw on the tin, which was costumes, bowling, 2 DLC characters. And I think a lot of people are very upset. I can understand, like, in the respect of how they've spaced it out, which I do think has not been too good.
Yeah.
But in saying that, the characters that have come out are really fun to play. Really enjoyable. But for the most part, that does cover a lot of those like the main fighting games I play. Like I would play something like Street Fighter, but I am trash at Street Fighter. It's the one fighting game series that I can't gel with for some reason. I don't know what it is. It's just every time I play it, I feel like I have, because with Mortal Kombat games and NRS games in general, I have to dial in the input and it will come out. Whereas with this one, I need to be so on the point and on the button that I'm dialing it in before I have to dial it in before the moves come out. But in Street Fighter, I have to dial it in as the moves come out. So I have to do it on reaction, and it throws me off really bad. Yeah. So I was playing Street Fighter 5 a little bit yesterday because I got my Brook converter sorted out. I plugged it in, and I was just kind of like, oh no, I forgot how bad I was at this game. I'm not used to this again. It has to all be reactionary. Oh man.
I think that's kind of like one of the issues I have, because I grew up primarily on Street Fighter and the SNK fighters, and so I would occasionally play Mortal Kombat here and there, and I played 9. I love 9. I'm garbage at 9, but I love 9. I loved Armageddon too, and I got into the Injustice series and Mortal Kombat X. And I think it's because I'm so used to playing Street Fighter and SNK games that I'm so used to immediate, like reading what's happening and reacting, to where I have to shift from that to the dial-a combo. My flow is horrible.
It
Like,
feels really weird. It feels really weird. It's one of those things. Like I understand that there's like Street Fighter players and NRS players who kind of like duke it out, and I'm just kind of like it's like apples and oranges in
yeah,
that respect. Like they're both good in their own way. They're good in their own sense.
yeah,
But it's really weird. That's why I'm really against the whole kind of like community battles and let's see which one is better.
yeah. And if they ever do like a Street Fighter Mortal Kombat crossover, I have no idea how that would work.
The thing is, as much as I'd want to see that, the last two crossover games from Capcom have been underwhelming. So I think I'm probably gonna give that a pass.
Yeah.
Considering the last two was literally Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, God rest its soul, and was it Tekken versus Street Fighter versus Tekken, which I think it's a fun game to play if you play it casually with your friends and you're kind of drunk.
Yeah.
But I remember a lot of people being really upset with the gem system and like the super system, which will kill one of your characters and like put a timer on your other one. I didn't really see, that's how casual I was with the Street Fighter like games in general. I don't really know too much about the mechanics and stuff, but I remember a lot of people being really upset about that.
I know, like when I got into playing Street Fighter Cross Tekken, for me, I was upset with it. One, not only because of the DLC it was locked behind a paywall and it's on the disc.
Oh, yes.
It was the fact that it just felt like Street Fighter 4. Like
it did.
Even with the Tekken characters, they didn't play like Tekken. They just felt like an amalgamation of different characters from the Street Fighter franchise just to fit this role. And it's like the way I played Jin in Tekken, and then I tried to play as him in this, I'm like, this doesn't work.
It's really, really weird.
Yeah.
Really, really weird.
And the biggest thing too, like I've said this to a lot of people, I'm like, with Street Fighter Cross Tekken, almost all of the Tekken characters are at a massive disadvantage to the Street Fighter characters who have projectiles.
Yeah.
You know, and they're slow. The Tekken characters are slower, they're heavier with their jumps. They have more moves than the Street Fighter characters, but it was not well done at all. So I would have taken a Capcom versus SNK 3 over Street Fighter Tekken.
I feel like everyone was kind of waiting for that, and then like I don't really know what's going on with Capcom. I'm not going to talk about them badly. I've never actually worked with them, surprisingly. But I don't know. I feel like their company's in a really, really weird place at the moment, and a lot of people who were in the community who worked with Capcom have kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
Like Mike Ross recently has walked away completely, as like his whole involvement with fighting games and esports, and Capcom basically telling him what to do and how his show was essentially useless and stuff like that. I'm just kind of like, Capcom, you kind of need this, because the furthest thing, one thing you don't want to do is basically stray away from your community. And I think if you do that, it kind of goes to show how out of touch you actually are. Yeah. You know? I mean, what was it? There was Combo Fiend as well, wasn't there? Who
Combo Fiend.
Yeah, he ended up walking away as well. And I think I love Capcom to death, because I mean, as much flack as I do give them, they did do some really good stuff, but I feel like at the moment they're in a really weird place. They need to really kind of do something to bring people in for this stuff. And I know like Street Fighter's Season 3 like DLC characters may bring people back in, but as we discussed before we actually started this podcast, we have Minot being beyond top tier at this point. You know? I mean, like...
In Abigail.
I feel like Street Fighter 5 at this point has just... Yeah, I'm not going to speak bad of Street Fighter 5 in that respect, but there's problems with it, and I think it's become a meme. and people are clearly like everyone knows it's kind of becoming a meme, and people are laughing at it. And I think that is just one of those things where they need to really kind of get back in touch with their community and really listen to them instead of just what they think.
Yeah.
You know, it's just that's my own personal opinion on it, because I know a lot of people get quite upset when people talk about Capcom and put them in this bad light. I'm not trying to put them in a bad light. It's just that right now the reputation isn't doing them too well. I think that there needs to be some changes, but overall, I do like the company. I do like the stuff they've done, but I think they're in a really, really weird predicament at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'll say this, and Capcom, y'all can put this on me, but the best thing that's come out of Street Fighter V is that Ryu fight stick that I got from Mad Cats. That's the best thing. And the only other thing I'm waiting for right now that will actually get me back into playing Season 3 of Street Fighter 5 is going to be Cody. And I hope to God they don't change Cody, because I've played Sakura so far as she's the first character to come out in 5. And my God, I don't like how she plays coming off of Street Fighter 4. Just play like her jumps, the fact that it takes 2 to 3 seconds for her to start up her hurricane kick and her dragon punch. It throws the way I play her completely off, and I don't like it.
I can understand that. I can really understand that, because I feel like the whole purpose of those tools are either extending or doing like reversals. And if there's like that much startup and it's not immediate on reversal, you are opening yourself up for a world of hurt.
Yeah, definitely are. Since we brought up Mike Ross and Combo Fiend, I want to ask you, you know, considering that the fight game community or the FGC has been partly responsible for keeping the fighting game genre alive with, you know, critical moments like Daigo's epic comeback. I believe that was like in the early 2000s, 2003 or so. And pushing for major tournaments, both local, national, and global. Do you think that they will be able to maintain that momentum, especially with the coverage from groups like E-League, which one of my friends is actually on E-League, and I think a lot of people might give me flack for this. I'm actually friends with Low Tier God.
That's fair enough.
I'll say this because a lot of people, he gets a lot of hate. He's nothing like the character he portrays. If you understand like wrestling, like playing a heel, one of the main reasons I know that he's put on this character is because he's like, I want to stand out, because there's a lot of people, you know,
he likes the heat.
Yeah,
he literally likes. I mean, fair enough. He's definitely built that reputation around himself. I'm sure he's probably like a really nice guy behind closed doors, but I feel like in that sense, he's also very much so kind of his persona is so well known that a lot of people think he's become said persona. But like I said, like people very different behind closed doors.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna say something here, and I'm not gonna name said individual, but I went to a tournament last year. I'm not gonna say which one it is, because then I'll be putting that individual on blast. But the person said, the person I knew from streaming, completely different person when I actually met said person, because I don't want to give it away. Met said individual, never ever want to meet it again. Never. Terrible individual. Not the same person he or she puts up on camera at all.
Yeah.
So
I've run into a lot of people like that in the game community, especially in the Nintendo scene. Oh boy.
Pretty bad. But I think that's a story I'll probably tell you off stream to maintain professionalism.
Yeah.
But like
I'll tell you who the people I know as well. But, it's amazing the clique that runs together, and if you get on one's bad side, they all come down on you, and I've learned that.
It's pretty funny though, because I feel like in that respect and what you're saying is that it can get really silly at times because you just kind of like it's like a kindergarten like arguments like you're friends with this individual. We can't be friends because you're friends with that. And I'm like, grow up. Grow up when you're 4.
Right?
I've met people like that and I'm like, yeah, all right. I mean, you keep being petty. I'm gonna go keep living my life. It's just one of those things. But back to your topic about what was it E-League and big FGC moments, right?
Yeah, and do you think that you know, with all the coverage, especially from groups like E-League and you know Evo and whatnot, do you think that they're are they able to really draw more people into the scene and maintain that?
I think that it's only going to grow and get better over the next coming few years because with fighting games, like the appeal is growing more day by day. And that's where I think Dragon Ball Fighters has done really well. Because Dragon Ball as a series has always been a massive one. Regardless of the quality of the games they put out, it's always they always make money. They always make a lot of money. Why? Is it because of the gameplay? No, it's simply because it has Dragon Ball in the title. So now that Dragon Ball is clearly appealing and it's somewhat bridging the fighting game community with the anime community together, like what we have here is really special and it's huge. I think that I know a lot of people are kind of not thinking it because this is really underrepresented. Sonic Fox is going to be the new Daigo for the USA. Like Sonic Fox has been ridiculously good for NRS games. He's been so strong. He went over to MVCI, dominated. Went over to Street Fighter V, did extremely well. And he didn't so much dominate the scene as he did really, really like he fought against some of the best players in the world. And he's done extremely, extremely well. But the thing is, like, a lot of people. Oh, wait, sorry, give me 1 second.
Okay.
I'll see you later, yeah?
Like the thing is with Sonic Fox is that he's really, really done a lot. At one of the most recent tournaments before he got beaten by Goichi, he was playing against Chris G. Chris G put him in losers, and he fought his entire way out of losers into winners finals against him and beat Chris G, the person who put him in the losers bracket. And I think a lot of people are kind of forgetting at how like he's very, very good. And I think if anyone can kind of have that big epic comeback moment that really does bring in more people, it's definitely him. Because so Sonic has done he's done a lot of stuff that's been really, really good for the scene. Whether or not you like him because of his somewhat fair persona, like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like he's done so much for the scene in the time he has. Like, I don't want to bring it up because it's old news, but his 13-0 against Perfect Legend will be forever cemented with Perfect Legend. And it just goes to show that he's made that much of an impact, regardless of the persona he puts on, regardless of what he wears. That boy has done a lot for the scene.
Amazing.
Like honestly, like I think if anyone can really push it, at least in the West, it's definitely him. It's definitely him. Because I don't know, there's something about Sonic Fox. I don't know what it is, but whatever he can pick up and play, he makes it work.
Yeah,
makes it really, really work.
That's an amazing skill to have too.
Because he's so good,
especially when you're transitioning. You know, different fighting mechanics and systems that don't, you know, really flow well into each other that well. But
yeah, they don't correspond the same way. And he, God knows how he makes it work, but by God, he does.
Exactly, man. That's amazing. And you know, speaking of people in the FGC, so the FGC it also draws very, very, very heavy criticism. In the sense that many say it's plagued with a very toxic, elitist type of community that, you know, often prevents newcomers from getting into the fighting game genre to feel welcome. Do you find that this is really a reality of the FGC, or is it more of a inflated rumor?
I think it's a bit of both. As we said with the whole Twitter thing, there's always going to be people that are going to try and push their own agenda with that. And I think it comes down to the individual at the end of the day to like whether or not they decide they want to kind of, I don't want to say get good, but get a better understanding of fundamentals in the game. And I think a lot of people these days are like really sensitive to criticism. Like even constructive criticism, people they tend to get quite upset about it. But I think like if you're willing to learn, you need to understand that not everything you pick up and you touch, you're instantly going to be good at. Like I was looking at a thread for Dark Souls Remastered, and there were people saying, "Oh, this game is gonna kill me. It's gonna blah 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 me." But instead of people actually giving tips or ways of like working, literally every thumbs up voted comment was "get good." That was literally it, and I'm just kind of like, elitism just doesn't exist in fighting games. It exists everywhere because people think it. I guess in that respect, people think they're kind of funny when they do that because they think they're a meme. But I'm just kind of like, that is like the most self-centered and obnoxious thing you can do. I feel like that is just, and that in itself feels like somewhat criticism. You're adding nothing to the conversation. You just want to be funny. If you're not going to add anything to it, don't be in the conversation at all.
Yeah, agreed.
I think with the whole elitism, though, I do think that does exist. Again, like I said, I think that's just going to be part of any community. But I think as well, you need to kind of not look at just negativity. Like there's a lot of positivity. There's a lot of people who are willing to help you if you're willing to learn. Hence why like you have combo videos online teaching you strings and stuff which you might have not learned about because they're not holding your hand to make you do it. You do it in your own time. And if you like mess it up and you can't get it, that is technically on you. But that's not necessarily to say it's like you should beat yourself up about it. Come back stronger, maybe get some air. It's one of those things where it's just kind of like, if you have willingness to learn, then I can understand that. But toxicity is always going to be a thing with every single community. Like if the Dark Souls thread, like, I mean, it's Dark Souls anyway. If that's proven, if that's taught me anything, it's that regardless of whatever community you get in, it's going to have toxic people, and then there's going to be people who are willing to learn and want to get better anyway.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's a bit of a weird, hazy one for me.
Yeah, that's an excellent response, man. I appreciate that because I see both sides of it. I agree with you fully. I think it's a bit of both, and especially in the tournaments I've entered out here in Hawaii, ones I've entered when I was in Washington State and Oregon, you're gonna get both, and it's true. Like not even just in gaming, but I mean, in just about everything. Like it's there. It's just part of it. And it's like you said, like a lot of people are very sensitive to criticism, and sometimes people just need to have tough, thicker skin. Facts.
Yeah, I just think that if people are more willing to learn, I think that is fine. I do think that because I wouldn't say I'm very anti PC culture because I don't like to curse and stuff like that, and I don't like to use slurs too often. But I think in that respect, it's that a lot of people have grown up with a whole kind of PC kind of, you need to be really overtly sensitive, you need to blah blah blah, and I think that is that has affected a lot of people in quite a negative way, in the sense that literally anything can set people off these days. And I think that unfortunately that's just how some people are kind of wired now. Even in my comment section, literally, I'm not joking, yesterday I got a comment saying, "Oh, you pronounced the name Azazel wrong. I'm going to dislike every one of your videos." And I'm just kind of like,
really?
Yeah, no, literally, that is the extent that some people actually go to. because some people are so overtly sensitive or offended by literally the smallest thing. I think that's why I'm kind of become anti-PC from actually the YouTube comment section alone has made me become very anti-PC, because I'm just kind of like, people are so willing to get upset over the smallest thing that at this point in time, I'm just kind of like, it's either petty to me or it's stupid. Like, that's why I am a massive advocate for Soul Calibur 6. It's because they've gone back to the original character designs, and people are saying like, oh, look at how over-sexualized Ivy is, when people forget that it's a reboot of the first game, not some kind of pandering nonsense.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a massive stance on that, because I think people are more willing to judge than they are to actually learn.
Yeah.
So it's so stupid. Sorry, I went on a little bit of a rant there.
No, it's fine. It's fine, dude. Organic conversations will lead you that direction.
But it's one of those things. And be fair, the whole Ivy argument with that respect, it's so stupid. It's so stupid. I'm not going to get into it because I know I'm going to piss a bunch of people off of where I stand on that. But
that, you know, and speaking about the over-sexualization of women in games, I know this is not a question that I actually had lined up, but it's something that I'm noticing in this whole trend of, I'm going to say, feminism. I'm not against feminism in the sense of the second wave where they wanted equality. I am against the sense of feminism where everything is offensive to them. You know, it's especially when it comes to that. You know, especially when it comes to gaming, it's like these characters were made a certain way to appeal to a certain type of person. Like, is all of it right? No, but it's a video game.
Like I said, it's with the whole kind of, originally it most likely started off as a positive thing, but then people hijacked it and essentially tried to twist their own agenda into it. And unfortunately, with stuff like that, it does taint the pool, because I think that is a majority. I know people might be upset if I say this. I think that's kind of majority of what cosplay has become now.
It really is.
I love cosplay. I love a lot of this costumes and stuff that people do make. I think as much shit as Jessica Negri does get, I think she makes some fucking great costumes. But I can't deny that she does put quite a lot on display for people, and it has like a lot. And I mean, sex sells. There's no denying that. And understandably, other cosplayers have understood this, and they've kind of taken it to that step where Jessica Negri has the line, and they've gone way beyond that, way beyond that. So, like I said, it's just, of course, things start off with honest intentions, and then there's individuals that kind of taint that pool. And sometimes if they see a trend work out, and it's kind of like, oh, I want to follow that trend as well, I can be the next Jessica Negri, then you know they're gonna, by God, they will try. It's just one of those things. It's one of those things. It's just a trend. With me, I'm just kind of like, do whatever you want to do, as long as it doesn't hurt or offend anyone. But don't be stupid about it, you know.
Exactly, I agree. Yeah, that's and folks who are listening and watching, that is our rant on that topic.
Yeah, I know we went on a completely different tangent there, but like, I mean, that we had to basically talk a little bit there about PC culture and just go into it a little bit. I don't talk about it a lot. I'm very anti-PC at this point in my life, because the YouTube comment section has done that to me. Now you know why the YouTube comment section is considered as the most cancerous place in the world, because I've heard everything in that place. It is terrible. I still check it out because I love my fan base. I love to hear what they have to say. I really, really do. But man, of course, like I said, you're always gonna get a few like sour apples in the bunch.
Yeah. And it really does. It makes you just get to that point. You're like, okay. Like you said, it's either childish or idiotic.
It's just one of the two. It's hilarious, but it's also really stupid. It's one of those things, man.
All right, so we're gonna segue into another topic that actually might be a little controversial, especially given the fact that a lot of my viewers are very big Nintendo fans, and especially when it comes to Smash Brothers. But Smash Brothers is often considered by many as a great fighting game. Yet on the other hand, there's a vocal majority of those, myself included, who also view Smash as nothing more than a party game. What is your take on the status of Smash being part of the fighting game genre?
Me, myself, it's really weird because I've never actually played Smash. So I'm not actually too familiar with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I know this argument has been going on for a while. Now, do I think I think the game originally started out as a party game, and then people started to like put it more into the fighting game genre. And ever since then, it's kind of been bridging the community into the fighting game genre, and people have been saying yes and people saying no. And what I have to say about it is literally do whatever, like if you want it to be a fighting game because there's fighting game aspects, fair enough. You can play at a somewhat competitive level. That I'm not going to go against that. If people like it, they like it. You know, it's only because I don't have a proper opinion of Smash Brothers myself outside of like the stuff I do hear that I've heard like stuff about these two different sides.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing is, I think every fighting game that started off from like the 90s and stuff never began with the intentions of being esports, because at that time esports was never a thing. But can it evolve into like that area? Can it be bridged into it? Yeah, sure. I don't see why it shouldn't. Plus, I'm always going to be a massive advocate for growing the fighting game community, and some people may like this, some people may not. But the thing is that the more people we have in this community and the more people that can talk about it and kind of bring it to another large level is something that I thoroughly do support. And like fighting game communities, I wouldn't say we're huge. Like we're esports at the moment. We're doing good, but the thing is, we can't be cutting off other communities because, oh, like this originally wasn't a fighting game, and oh, this is a fighting game. Like the bigger the community, the better. Like that's why, as hilarious as some of the rage quit memes are for Dragon Ball Fighters, like I'm happy that at least the anime fighters have come across with the willingness to learn. And although like the gradual acceptance into the community is going to take a while, I'm at least glad that they are invested, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. I know when it comes to Smash, like I don't ever try to put it down and just argue with people like, oh, it's just a fight. It's just a party game. And I try to explain to people, I remember back in 1999 when it first came out, I remember the commercials. I remember playing it and playing it with people who just played it for fun. And it was like, oh, okay, this is kind of like an all-star collaboration for Nintendo. And, you know, same thing with Melee. I think Melee was not meant to be as big as it was. It was like, hey, we need a launch title. And so, you know, and it grew. Melee became their I think it still is to many people, one of their most successful entries. And then they came out with Brawl, and Brawl brought on the online component. And then you had the last one that came out 4. And I think, you know, I am impressed with how far it's come. And I'm amazed at it because from someone who watched it when it came out in 99, I never would have dreamed it would be where it is now. And I respect the people that are really good at it, that are really amazing at it. I just really honestly can't stand anytime I look up a Nintendo channel, everyone's like stressing and worrying over who's going to be included in this entry of the game. It's like,
yeah, I can understand that. Like, to be fair, I think that's it with a lot of like fighting games in general as well. Like,
Yeah.
I'll be fair, I'd be quite guilty if I said that I wasn't one of those individuals that thought, it'd be nice to make a video on this individual, see what we can get from it. But I think it's one of those things where I like to be surprised. I like to be surprised a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I tend to avoid that kind of stuff. That's hence why I guess I do make quite a bit of prediction videos instead of videos talking about any rumors and stuff like that, because I'd much rather be surprised than just kind of like, oh, hey, I knew about this before this and that. I'm just kind of like, that's why I've kind of a bit of a rule with movie trailers. The first official trailer for a film that drops, first one is the one I watch. I don't watch any other promotional bits of material because I want to be going in there surprised. So same thing in that respect kind of does work for games for me. I want to be surprised. Hence why I don't like I don't report on every single bit of news that's heard or said. I know my friend Dynasty does, and he really he's really good at that. I ain't knocking him for it. But I myself, I like to be surprised. I like to expect the unexpected in that respect. It's one of those things. But I understand where you're definitely coming from, because it's YouTube. The site is littered with videos like that.
Yeah, and it's like one of the things I've noticed, especially in the Nintendo community, is there's a lot of overhyping, and then when Nintendo doesn't do what the community wants, there's just
disarray.
Yeah, and it's like the people, like, I mean, case in point, like with so many of them that were doing the Nintendo Direct guessing, and they're like, oh, what's going to be on this Direct? And then they're upset that, oh, there's so many Wii U ports. And then, like, I'll go in and ask these same people that are making these videos about how they're disappointed with it. And I'm like, well, here's a question I have for you guys. Like, did you play this on the Wii U? No. Well, you know, the Wii U only had an install base of about 11 million people. Yeah, so the games they had were really good. And as a business, if you make a good product, you kind of want to get the most money you can out of it. And it's a cheap port.
Yeah, I can understand that.
So it's like, you know, there's that, and then the people that hate the fact that the 3DS is still alive, and they're like, it needs to die, and this and this. And I'm like, well, 3DS did keep them afloat. And if you understand how Nintendo treats handhelds, they run quite a long time.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, it's the armchair analyst thing, especially in the Nintendo community, that just really gets to me. And, you know, I sometimes with that community in general, I have to just step away and just disassociate myself for a while. But yeah, I mean, like the videos, I'll put it this way. A lot of their videos, once something's revealed, it's a moot point. Like there's no point in even going back and watching it. But like prediction videos like you and like others do in other games and genres, they can actually stand the test of time because they are, you know, they're still relevant. There's a good perspective going into, hey, this could happen. This person could be in this game, versus the doom and gloom that a lot of the Nintendo community does. And it's just, I appreciate the way that you guys go about it.
Oh, no, thank you. It's just, I'm not too familiar with the Nintendo community myself, because I've never been, well, as you probably tell from what I told you earlier, I haven't played a lot of video games up until I was 16. Yeah. So I'm not initially too familiar with that type fan base, but I will take your word for it.
And speaking of which, it's neither here nor there, but do you think, or do you feel that the Smash community is toxic, or are they passionate about their preferred game?
That's a tough one. Not because it's Smash, but I think that's kind of with fighting games in general, and a very recent event between Goichi and Minot happened. I'm not sure if you heard about that.
I have.
Basically, for those of you who aren't too familiar, Goichi was playing against was it Minot or Minard? I can't remember. It's one of the I think it's because I've been around Street Fighter too much. But basically, the Capcom Cup winner ended up playing against Goichi, and Goichi was playing Minot, and it was Abigail versus Minot. Oh my god, we were talking about this earlier as well. And basically, during the entire matchup, Goichi was being harassed by I wouldn't say he was. We say it's more harassed, as he had someone screaming behind him was friend.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, he had this. The Capcom champion basically had his friend there, and his friend was supporting him, but was supporting him in such a way that it was affecting other players because he was practically screaming into other people's ears. Mm-hmm. And fair enough, it's your friend, you want to support them, but if you have to scream into people's ears to do that, there's no denying that in itself can be pretty damn toxic. And I think that situation just goes to show that it's not just the Smash community that can be toxic. I feel like every community has some form of toxicity because people kind of like to be bitter and hold on to grudges, or people just like to do things that are dickish and think that they can get away with it at times.
Yeah.
I think that every player is passionate, but there's a fine line between passion and toxicity, and I feel like if people can't work past that fine line, then that's a massive problem. That's a massive problem, because there's nothing worse than getting someone who has won first place in something who is completely toxic. Because the last thing I think any community would want is the advocate who always wins majors, who is the most toxic individual, because that will completely kill a scene.
Yeah.
You don't want someone like, I'll put in the Street Fighter respect, if someone was to defeat anyone in top 8 and was an individual to throw out racial slurs or any kind of negative stuff, canned. The entire scene would be canned. Yeah. Because that person would have negativity around them, and it would be going to every single tournament. So that's why I think people need to differentiate the difference between passion and toxicity. And sometimes some people don't know that, and they need to be told that.
Yeah.
So I guess for the whole conversation about whether or not the Smash community is toxic or passionate, it's a scene that I'm not too familiar with, but I hope for their sake that they have a good advocate and someone who can represent them well. Because I'm not too familiar with Leffen. I know about him, but I'm not exactly sure what goes on in that scene, in all honesty.
You're not missing much. Oh, shout out to Video Gamers Hawaii. That's the crew that I'm with out here. The fight game community that's here. They just popped up in the chat. So, hey guys.
Hello.
Some fans of you.
Hello, person. I can't see the person's name.
Person community.
Yeah, person community.
Oh man. So when it comes to fighting games, do you feel it's best to play with a fight stick or fight pad, and why? For either or both.
Well, here's the thing. I've actually been a pad player the entire time I've been playing fighting games. But recently, when I went to the Soul Calibur 6 event, I picked up a stick properly, and I was playing Soul Calibur 6 with it. And I don't know if it's the gameplay of Soul Calibur 6 or it was the stick, but it has got me looking at sticks that actually bite at the moment. I have my eyes on the Kwamba Crystal and Obsidian. And I really want to get a stick because I want to see what it's like. I enjoyed playing it thoroughly. Whether or not which one's better, I think that comes down to games. I think that with particular games it plays better. I think the main reason why I've always struggled with Street Fighters because I've never played it on stick. and I think that's my problem because of it. I think that with like NRS games, you do not need stick. You can play it on a pad at a very high level. I think even the last year's Evo champions, not CR Dragon, it's something Dragon now. Basically, he ended up winning via pad, and I think it just comes with different fighting games, which benefits the other. I've been playing BlazBlue, as I've said, a bit recently, and I'm just kind of like, I really like this game, but I suck because I feel like I benefit more from a pad. Not pad, stick, sorry. So it's one of those things. I really, really want to play a stick because I think it gives you a whole different, I wouldn't say repertoire. It just gives you a different outlook on how you can approach a fighting game, really. And I think that's something that I really, really want. Because for me, at the moment, I'm taking a little bit of a back seat from playing fighting games. I'm just trying to relax a little bit more. But like literally, like fight sticks, I'm really, really interested in. Hopefully, get a sponsorship with Kombat. That'll be so good.
Do it.
Really, really, really. I enjoy pad for the most part. I've been playing pad my entire life. So unfortunately, for which one does better for me personally, I have to say pad. But for one that I'm really interested at getting better at and getting a better understanding at, definitely looking at stick for sure.
I am complete trash with stick. I have 3 sticks. I have 3, and every time I go in GameStop and I see something there, like I'm like, I gotta get it. And then I play with it, and I'm complete trash. But I've got this determination. I'm like, I need to get better. It's one of the things, like, shout out to Video Games Hawaii. Every time I've gone to one of their events, like the community is super, super amazing. And like, if you need help with anything, like with Tekken, Street Fighter, Dragon Ball Fighter Z, like if you're trying to just get good with pad and stick, they will help you. Like they are one of the most amazing fight game communities I've ever been part of. And I'm not saying it because I'm friends with them and because I know they're in the chat. I'm just saying that, just being completely honest. I've dealt with a lot of negative FGC, and Video Games Hawaii are definitely the top tier amazing group I've ever dealt with.
No, that's good, folks. I feel like with fighting games in general, there aren't enough advocates to kind of push that kind of whole arcade like pad and stick thing. So like massive shout outs to I swear I'm gonna get the name of it because I'm looking at chat. Video Gamers Hawaii. Like massive shout outs to them for bridging that whole gap. I think that's a massive, massive important thing, and it's a great way of helping the community grow. Like honestly, I've always been a massive advocate for kind of helping grow the community, and the more stuff I see like that, the happier I am. Honestly, it's really, really good stuff.
Definitely, man. So, what advice would you give to someone looking to get into fighting games, and also those who currently play, but would like to get better or play competitively?
I think the first thing you have to do is find the game that appeals to you. I think that is the massive, massive thing, because there's no point playing Street Fighter 5 or 4 if you're interested in Mortal Kombat. And the same thing can be said vice versa. Like if you find one like you like the look of, pick it up, play it. But you also, if you want to get better, like I mentioned earlier, you have to have a willingness to learn. And if you don't, then at the end of the day, like you're not helping yourself. I think a massive thing you have to do is always kind of so I need to kind of burp, but it's still in my chest. But the thing is
organic conversations lead to burps too.
For like bridging the gap, it will always be something quite difficult. It's never easy. But the best thing I can say is if you're starting off, stay offline, get a better feel for who you like to play. I think that's always an important thing. Don't play a character that you're not interested in. Don't look at tier lists and say, I'm going to pick that one because he's top tier. Because the second you say that and you go online and you get bodied by someone who has a better neutral than you, you're gonna be like I shouldn't have lost that match. I was playing a top tier character. Don't worry about that. Play the character you like. Like during the beginning of Injustice 2, I picked up Bane. Bane in like Injustice 2 is not considered too strong because of like the repercussions he gets from using Venom. But the thing is, I picked him up and I played him for a long amount of time for the only one reason, which was he's a fun character to play. I like playing grapplers. So that's why I ended up picking up that character. I really enjoyed him. Is he the most sound in the game's meta? No, but I'd rather play a game and enjoy the individual who I'm playing than just play a character because lol top tier.
Yeah.
You know? I think that and also after you find a character you like, best advice I can say, go down and find a local scene for yourself. Play against people who are better than you and learn. That's how I managed to get way better.
Yeah. Awesome, man. So I got one last question for you, and then once I ask that, we can get into the Q&A section. So make sure everyone in the chat, make sure that you have your questions ready, because we're gonna roll through this. The last question I have is, what is your advice for those that are looking to get into YouTube, Twitch, Mixer, and the like, and or be content creators and or streamers? Like,
the best advice I have to say is know what you're getting yourself into before you do it. Also be open to criticism, but most importantly, don't be your typical generic go-of-the-mill type of stuff. The reason I say that is because I'll bring up my cousin here. My cousin had his own YouTube channel for a long amount of time. And the thing is, he wanted to do it and he was really happy with doing it. But the problem he had was his channel, unfortunately, didn't pan out because he wasn't open to criticism, because he didn't want to conform. He was more happy with following what other people did than setting trends himself.
Yeah.
From what I've known, I was the first fighting game community member to bring up like fiction and origin stories, to actually put that stuff out there, which is why, you know, people were attracted to my stuff, because I was the first individual to actually do that properly. Unfortunately for my cousin is that he was more set on making a let's play personality, I say somewhat personality driven channel. But unfortunately, there's like 50 million other people who do that in the same genre. So to stick out like a sore thumb, like you need to do something ridiculous. And I think that's the problem. You need to not be very generic. You need to come up with an original idea, make sure that people are interested in said idea. And the most important part, if you actually want to, you know, get a bit of a following behind you, as we've said before in this, strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah.
Because I always said to my cousin, because he was interested in playing games like Pokemon Red and stuff, people aren't looking for that kind of stuff in YouTube.
Yeah.
No one, no offense to people who play older games, but in the media eyes, no one gives a single fuck about Pokemon Red, Blue, or Yellow in this day and age. Like there are zero searches for those games. If I type in Red Dead Redemption 2, I'll make a video on that. People are going to be attracted to that because it's a more recent game.
Yeah.
Like no one gives, like people can enjoy retro games, but in the eyes of what's popular, no one gives a shit. I mean, it's literally one of those things. Like if you are more interested in making what you have a business, you need to know what people want to see. And I think the most important thing you have to do is be very much so in touch with your community, what people want to see and what people want to know.
Yeah.
That's why with a lot of my Soul Calibur videos, I don't determine like next week's episode. I leave that to the community to decide my comment section, because that's what they want to see. I think that's the most important thing that people have to understand. It's like, if you give people the power of wanting to watch something, you make it, they'll be very happy with what you make.
Okay. Definitely so. And it really comes down to it's economics, it's supply and demand.
Yeah, it's literally unfortunately with how the YouTube algorithm system also works, you not only have to make sure that what you put out is good, but you need to kind of be business smart.
Yeah.
Like that if you don't become say if you don't become business smart, if you look at what's hot on the market, then you know what will work. That's why you see a bunch of YouTube channels essentially making these intro dialogue videos that go on for about 20 or 30 minutes long because they know that people want to see that. Is it original content? No, but people want to see it. It's one of those things. It's like it has a market in itself, and fair enough to you if you actually do that. I used to do that, but my God, did those videos take ages to record.
Yeah. And one of the other things I see a lot of YouTubers do for clicks is clickbaiting. And that's something I meant to ask you about earlier. What are your thoughts? Because I know you don't do it, but what are your thoughts on the YouTubers that do clickbaiting to,
It depends. Be fair, these days, I wouldn't say my titles. I say my thumbnails are a bit clickbaity at this point because I feel like at this point with the YouTube market and how I wouldn't say it's quite difficult to put a name out there. You need to kind of make your thumbnails stand out. But I'm okay with clickbait if you have earned the title to clickbait. I don't like because like sex sells. If a character has boobs, it's not like I'm not gonna have that be the sole fact as to why that's in the thumbnail. If that individual's there, there's no doubt that I'll probably use that to my advantage. But in saying that, like if it puts money in my mouth and does pay my bills, I understandably will do so. But the thing is, I'm not gonna clickbait it to like Mortal Kombat X, Scorpion X, Melina XXX. What? Like I think that's the kind of obnoxious stuff where I kind of walk that fine line. I'm perfectly fine with clickbait as long as it's done right, I guess. Which is kind of weird for me to say that. Because at the very beginning when I started, I didn't want to clickbait my videos. But with how YouTube has essentially like become this how can I describe it? This bloodthirsty monster, I guess, in that sense, of whether or not how much money you make. I think, unfortunately, a lot of people have had to conform in order to actually make a livelihood, which is a shame, because if that wasn't the case, then I don't think clickbait would be quite a prominent thing. But I'm saying that a lot of people are on YouTube for the sole reason of just making money instead of actually doing it out of a passion.
Yeah, that's very true.
But clickbait isn't too much of a bad thing for me. I just think that if it's done right, it's done right. That's why I don't have a problem with a lot of Max's videos that are somewhat clickbait, because I think I mean he's been on the site for a decade. He has earned a right to clickbait, for God's sake. He's put so much time and work into his stuff. He consistently uploads. It's not like he uploads jank content either. He actually puts an effort into his stuff, which is why like I say clickbait now isn't quite as different as clickbait back then. I say, like, if what you have in your title and your thumbnail is completely unrelated to what you were talking about in your video, then that is pure clickbait at its finest.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that where people will just the title has nothing at all to do with the video. Like, I don't mind if they do the clickbait title of, oh, is it good? Does it suck? And they actually talk about the game in detail, like the pros and cons. But then there are channels where they just clickbait just so you can watch it, and it has nothing. It's trolling, you know.
Yeah, it's I think a lot of people do it because they know they'll get the views, either because they have the following or they just want the money. That's why I'm gonna quickly talk about Jake Paul here. He recently put up, he put up a thumbnail a while ago with basically a girl pretty much riding him wearing nothing, but he managed to get away with it for some reason. And what he had in the title and the thumbnail was associated with nothing in the video. It was complete garbage. It's just one of those things. I don't know what it is with those. Like, that is pure clickbait. Like I said, perfectly fine with clickbait, long as it's associated with the title and the thumbnail. Outside of that, it's just pretty much sums it up for me perfectly.
All right, so we got some questions in the chat. There was one earlier from Also Jiggly. I guess I'm not sure if he's still here or not, but he wanted to ask if you like Virtua Fighter.
You know what? I really like what I see from Virtua Fighter, but I've never had the opportunity to play it. I want to actually get around to playing Virtua Fighter. It's one of those things where I've just never had the opportunity because, again, I was introduced to gaming like way down the line more than I should have been. So, like, if I have the opportunity to actually go back and play it, I absolutely will get the chance to.
Okay. I'll send you a link I'll probably send you a DM with Also Jiggly's video. He made his most popular video where it's basically he says that Virtua Fighter is deeper and I guess better than Tekken. And it's a really good video where he goes into the technical mechanics of it, the fluidity of it. And he has got a lot of hate for that video, but he makes a sound argument. So I'll send it to you.
Yeah, no, I'll be actually really open to hearing that because that sounds quite interesting, actually. Because mechanically, Tekken to me has always been quite sound, but if there's something that's a little bit more bold, I guess, I'd be interested in taking a look at that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, I think as well with some people like that, when you make a video comparing that's what I've never done. I've always wanted to do a Tekken 7 versus Injustice 2 video, but regardless of whichever community wins or whether or not it's a tie, people are going to be upset because you're comparing one thing to the other. Props to the person who you're talking about, though, for being brave enough to do that, because I would not touch that. Because I know, like I said, YouTube comment section, it's kind of toxic. I tend to avoid it. But no, props to that, man. That's pretty, really, really, really good.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that because, I mean, I bad press of particular people anyway, but you know, props to him.
All right, so we got another question, one from Liquid Metal. He wanted to ask, do you think we will ever have a completely new IP or fighting game that will be as popular and iconic as Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat?
I think it's always possible if people can get behind it and people really, really want it to work. It's always going to be indeed possible. I think Dragon Ball might. It's not really a new IP, I guess, because it's Dragon Ball. But I believe if something was that sound and people really wanted to get behind it, I think it's possible. There's no reason it shouldn't be. And with kind of Capcom, again, I don't want to bad talk Capcom, but with the kind of downward slope they're kind of going on now publicly, I think that someone, if they don't like fix up and like basically bring up their reputation again, I think someone's going to take that spot.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Yeah, it's a shame, really. It's a shame, really, because I'm a massive advocate for Capcom. Like, I criticize them a lot, but it's not like I don't how to put it? I don't criticize them for the sake of criticizing them. I criticize them because I want to see them do much, much better than what they are. And I think right now they're taking the right steps, but they need to take bigger steps, basically.
Yeah, you're right. Video Gamers Hawaii has a question. MK11, E3 reveal or Evil reveal? What can you say? What do you know that you can't say?
I wish I did. I really wish I did. E3, because E3 is, I'm pretty sure it's before Evo.
E3 June. Yeah. Because Evo is August, right?
Yeah, early August. Because I was, like I said, I originally was going to go, but I kind of decided to scrap it at the last minute because I was just kind of like, I haven't got enough money, and there's not exactly games I want to play there. So I think that Evo will be where they have some demos set up for early access, because actually later that month I'll be going to Gamescom in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that MK11 will definitely be a thing next year. This year they'll probably throw out some teasers and some early demos to play at. But right now, it's hard to say. But with how like NRS kind of cycle their games through and stuff, I think it's definitely the next like game that the studio is going to make.
Definitely. All right. I guess I don't see any more questions. I feel like we've been covering so much that any questions the audience may have had have already been answered.
Possibly. Possibly.
This has been a lot of fun for me, and you know, I'm again, I gotta say, man, I'm really honored to have you on this this podcast, this live stream, to have you on my channel, man. That's such an honor for me.
The pleasure's been all mine, man. No, thank you for having me on here. I've really, really thoroughly enjoyed this. Thoroughly.
We definitely got to do this again. I'm pretty sure, and by the end of next week, or this week rather, I'm pretty sure you're going to be at that over 200,000 subscribers, man. I'm very confident.
One can pray, man.
Oh, actually, we got another question. One last question. Liquid Metal, he asks, if you could meet a game dev, who would you like to meet? And what would you ask?
You know what? It's always going to have to go. I'm going to have to be biased and say Ed Boon. The really biased thing is that my girlfriend's dad actually runs Gamescom. So it's the thing at the end of August. And
oh, wow, really?
So I got really lucky with my girlfriend. So at the end of the month of August, I'm really hoping I can run into him, because I get to go there early on the press days.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping like that in itself is like a dream come true, because like although I've played other games, Mortal Kombat has been the game where I kind of started, and to meet someone who essentially paved way to not only like the games I love, but also my livelihood, which because a lot of my channel was Mortal Kombat based, like mine will be blown. It's gonna be so hard not to fan out, like if I actually get to meet him and shake his hand. Like I'm gonna embarrass myself so bad.
Oh man, you gotta meet. If you meet Ed Boon, you need to meet Tobias as well.
I hope so. The thing is, I don't think Tobias is associated with NRS anymore. I thought
they. Cause I know they fell out for a long while, and he left or something. Didn't he?
I don't think they so much fell out, but I think Ed wanted to keep doing stuff with Midway, but John wanted to pursue more of a comic book writing stance, because I know he wrote a lot of the Mortal Kombat stuff.
Yeah.
So I think they decided to separate because Ed wanted to keep doing Mortal Kombat, but Midway wasn't doing too great, and John wanted to do his own thing. I think that's how it goes anyway. Don't hold me to that.
Okay.
But I think that's roughly how it goes.
Okay, definitely. Yeah, we don't have any other questions. So, man, again, thank you. It has been quite the honor.
It's been great, man. Thank you again.
I've thoroughly enjoyed having you on the show. I'm confident you're going to hit 200,000 subscribers and be well over that before this week is over. And man, I definitely got to get you back on the podcast again. The audience loved you. They loved having you on here. I loved having you on here. You know, we got to do it again. I got to seal your line. If we can get this to, what do you say, 500 likes?
Yeah.
I've never gotten to 500 likes, but I would love to get to 500 likes. I would love to grow my channel more and just be able to, you know, work with more people. Like, I have fun being able to have these organic conversations with people, coming up with the questions. The hardest thing for me is actually coming up with the questions, because usually I'll come up with them an hour or two before the podcast. And I'll just what I'll do is I'll watch a lot of the content creators content and just like, okay, I can ask this question, I can ask this, that way I can get a feel for their, you know, their content, their character and whatnot. And I'm like, okay, but it's fun. I enjoy doing this. Like I'm trying to get to where a point where I can be like what was his name? Dave Rubin? He does a lot of social talk, but he's got the Rubin Report. But I kind of want to be able to have it at one point where this channel and, you know, my podcast grows to a point where I can actually have sit down in person talks and interviews with people. Like that's one of my goals, and hopefully that will happen. I know next week or later on this week, I will be doing another podcast. I'll be doing one with Video Gamers Hawaii. So I'm really excited about that. And then I'm probably going to have to go on a hiatus because I'm having my wisdom teeth pulled. Ooh. And I have to do a business trip for work 2 days later. I'm not looking forward to that, but yeah. But yeah, man, thank you for being on here. Hopefully we can get to 500 likes. Hopefully channel will grow some more, but I know for a fact you will be hitting 200,000. Your channel is amazing. Everyone who's watching, if you're listening, go subscribe to his channel. Links down in the description below for his YouTube and for his Twitter. And History Behind the Warrior, if there's anywhere else you want people to find you, or if there's any projects you have up in the work, like hint, hint, wink, wink, Mortal Kombat 11, Soul Calibur 6, let us know. The floor is yours.
Oh, definitely. No, thank you again. It's been a massive pleasure coming on here. I've had a lot of fun, a lot of fun. Definitely will love to come back on here again at some point. If you wish to find me, type in on YouTube History Behind the Warrior. I cover a plethora of different fighting game characters, talking about their origins, their backstories, where did they come from, and why are they there in a fighting game. So if you are interested in that, head over there. If you want to find me on my social media, just casually going to check my name because I might have forgotten it. It is HB the Warrior on Twitter. So feel free to check me out on there. That's where I am. But yeah, if you're interested in any of my fighting game stuff, please head over there and take a gander. But yeah, thank you to everyone who's watching, and thank you for having me on your show.
All right, thank you. And for everyone who's watching and listening, thank y'all for coming through, and we will catch you in the next one.